Hello, and here we are. It's the D'Amato Files episode 5, I guess.
Okay, sure.
The Mark Shannon cock special.
Yes.
You have no interest in Mark Shannon and his penis. This is not the episode for you, I don't think. I mean, jog on, you know.
Uh-huh. But if you are keenly interested in whatever growths happen to be taking place on the ball sack of Mark Shannon, then this definitely is or Michael Shannon, Mark Shannon. What's his
Mark
name?
Shannon. Michael
Mark
Shannon
Shannon.
is
Oh yes,
yeah.
Zod. Right.
Yes, that would be a very different collection of films with him in the same roles.
Right.
Because he would tower over even George Eastman, I feel.
Oh, is he that big? I don't think I didn't know that.
He's quite a big man, yeah.
Okay. But yes. Okay. So we're kicking off with Erotic Nights of the Living Dead.
Or Sexy Nights of the Living Dead.
Yeah, these Nights of the Living Dead are neither sexy nor erotic.
Well, I beg to differ, but we'll
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get into this. So I suppose this is probably the most. This is the one people have seen, I guess, of this. Because a lot of these things we can talk about today, we saw in compromised VHS, no subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
What on earth is going on? But this one, there's a Blu-ray.
Yeah, quite pristine looking.
Yeah.
It's really long too, like outrageously so, to be honest, for what it is.
This and Porno Holocaust, which we'll talk about next. Yep. Yes, I do wonder what the impetus behind this is, because in general, one thing you can't argue, Joe, he knows the market and he knows, he's not someone who tends to fuck about things in, out, done, right? I do wonder I was wondering if either of you might have some thoughts. Why are both of these films almost 2 hours long?
Very unusual.
Yeah.
It just feels to me like he went ahead and made a porn film and then also decided to have this horror element in both of them, and then kind of so they almost become like two separate films. Like there's a lot of sex up front in both of these films before you even get to the kind of the horror side of things. And maybe that was just it. It was just he made a porn film and then tacked on all of this.
Still though, it's a new, there's always an alternative version of, and in general, things are under 90 minutes. There's a very commercial imperative to be under 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I do wonder what they were thinking. It can't be a coincidence that both of these are close to 2 hours, and I was really struggling to kind of figure out what was going on, that, these two films in particular were, allowed this ridiculously indulgent running time.
Mm-hmm.
So some of his 1990 stuff has sort of very long running time. I think Gangland Band is close to 2 hours, but from this period, these things seem to be unusually long.
Yeah. And I also wonder, back in the day, obviously now we have collectors and people, and they demand the longest version, and where would the long version have even played? Like, I can't imagine it would have been welcome in the theaters that these things usually played in, right? Because it would.
First time I saw this, it was an Italian VHS, and that was like, definitely missing all the hardcore stuff. That's like a good to softcore sex. I think most of the horror stuff is in there, but all the hardcore stuff. This is the first time I've seen all that.
Yeah, it does lend itself quite easily to just doing that, right? Just chopping it out, and it pretty much runs the same. But yeah, so, and also scripted by George Eastman himself, right? Once again.
Yes, giving himself the role of Larry O'Hara. So I'm assuming he's supposed to be Irish.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, the whole George Eastman, as because the thing is as well, you could understand it if he appeared in the hardcore scenes and stuff. It makes, oh, I see what he's done here. He's written himself, you know, what he wants to get up to while he's in the Dominican Republic. But of course he didn't partake in that stuff, right? And he was actually very adamant about not partaking in that stuff.
Right. Oh, it's funny because in a way I was thinking about this. Like he does walk a fine line, right? Because he's in films that have hardcore, and he participates in like simulated sex scenes with actors we've just seen actually having sex. You know.
Right.
Yeah. And so I was, yeah, it was kind of, it's an interesting choice for an actor to make. But he's also just deliberately in both of these films given himself not the role of the monster, right? Which is because in some ways it's almost a letdown that he's not the monster in Porno Holocaust. Because I mean, he really is effective in the role of hulking beast, right? And in a way, it's kind of bizarre in that film to see him play like a scientist, right? And then to have somebody else a bit less imposing in a way play the, you know, rape monster, whatever.
I suppose it depends on which way he's imposing, right? Because in certain areas he's fairly imposing.
Yeah, we'll talk about the sweet potato cock when we get to that film. But yeah, no, it's you know, in both of these films.
That's a nice pet name you've got for Gav.
But yeah, you know, I mean, he wrote quite a lot, did Eastman. I mean, he wrote.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he wrote some films that are very, I think, well thought of by genre fans. Kioma, for example, right, is one of his. But yeah, I did almost feel like he wrote these because he was like, I don't want to get stuck in the monster role again, so I'm going to write myself something a bit more. I don't know.
Plus, as well, in this case, a lot of these films, you do wonder what, you know, script. You know, it just means that he had a cocktail napkin handy on the yacht over to the island or something.
Yep.
Joe, I got a great idea, you know.
Yeah. We're going to make zombie, but with porn in it.
Yeah, so, yeah, it seems as if... So, basically, the plot is we kick off in... Once Upon a Time was called, and you're no longer allowed to call them a loony bin, I guess.
Yes.
And George Eastman is...
Look at especially Ferrell, actually, in these segments. Yeah.
Getting his oats with a female... fellow female inmate as played by Duccio Funari, who we'll be seeing an awful lot of in these films. And then I suppose it's an extended flashback. We find out why they end up in this place. And yeah, it's so there was an expedition to this island, Cat Island.
Cat Island, yeah, which is well known for its zombies.
Yeah, and it's one meowing.
And it's one cat. Yeah. So I'm not sure why it has the name Cat Island, but no,
I don't know.
But okay, yeah, and yeah. So Mark Shannon, whose dick we'll be seeing a great deal in this episode, he bought this island. He seems to be some sort of Trump light. He seems to be like a real estate developer who's bought this island to build some sort of resort, hotel and stuff there. And he's
Well, actually, he's. If I'm remembering this correctly, he's actually a surveyor. He's not the guy who's bought the island, right? He's like a surveyor checking out the island on behalf of Donald Trump, I believe.
He certainly throws his weight around as though he's... But yeah, okay. If that was a nuance, then I missed that nuance.
Right.
He definitely, He comes off as kind of an American dick, basically.
Jeffrey Epstein's looking for a new place.
Right.
To party. So you've got Mark Shannon.
Obviously, Pussy Island makes perfect sense.
Right. Right.
So
he's got Mark Shannon on the case. And so they go there. I
do have to say the dub job on this is particularly risible, and I do like Italian dubbing generally speaking, but if they got if there's a C or a D string of dubbing talent for Italian genre cinema, they definitely found those people to dub this. Particularly the sex scenes. They are so awkwardly dubbed. It was hard to keep a straight face, especially the beginning of the film.
Right.
But it's half the film. It's just Mark Shannon getting laid, right? And that's kind of all it is. Like, it takes them quite a long time to get in the boat and head to the island.
Where they meet Laura Gemser and her dad.
Yep. Laura Gemser, who scratches herself and bleeds milk at one point.
Yep. And of course, we've got Lucia Ramirez, who you'll see a lot more of as well.
Quite like her. I quite like her.
Oh no, yeah. It does help that most of the time you see a Mark Shannon's cock is in her mouth as well. That you know
doesn't hurt. No.
Yeah.
This is true.
And then eventually at a certain point it turns into zombie flesh eaters, and more specifically turns a bit Tombs of the Blind Dead, I thought.
Yes.
And those scenes,
I didn't think the zombie scenes in this were like really good.
They are good. That's exactly what I was going to say.
It's just a shame it takes such a long time to get to them,
No, they're really atmospherically, and they really did remind me of the Blind Dead films as well, because they're even dressed.
Particularly when they rise out of the sea, like when they're like that.
Right.
That's very well done.
Yeah. And then it ends, and it's an odd one. Sexy Night of the Living Dead is I do wonder what they were thinking, just in terms of running time and just who the audience was, and it really is quite a peculiar, and not, I mean, of this bunch, it's probably the best overall film, I guess.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I just like the idea of this through line from Dawn of the Dead to zombie flesh eaters to what's the Girolamo, Dr. Butcher MD, what's the actual zombie Holocaust? Yeah, zombie Holocaust, because they do all, like, they very much feel of a piece, like, though at least like the island based ones, and then to this, it, like, there were moments where I was like, oh, this is so comforting, like watching guys in sackcloth costumes on fire, and all that stuff is just very much in my wheelhouse, I guess. Like, it just felt like they almost could have been cutscenes from Fulci's film or from Girolami's.
It's odd. It's just, again, it's a good example of, I mean, like we said, those scenes, they're quite atmospheric, they're quite well done. So Joe D'Amato clearly knows what he's doing, and it's really, and of course he shot this, as always, all of these. But it's really fascinating to kind of ponder what the impetus behind because clearly they're aiming for, it's some sort of commercial imperative, right? They've reached some sort of weird, like, okay, we do this, so we do that. How about this? And they've decided, this is the sweet spot, right? This is the, this is what the world needs right now.
Hardcore porn zombie film. Yeah. It's almost in stunning isolation. I can't really think of anything else.
You'd think there'd be more, actually.
Quite like it.
There would be more, or at least, gory films of this era, and they just threw in some hardcore as well, because why not? But very few people actually ventured there. Or it was, later on, some distributor or something had something inserted.
Right.
As opposed to from the get-go, they went out of their way to create a really good looking, kind of, in a way, fun island fantasy adventure wish fulfillment thing. Because that's the other thing as well. You have to think back in an era where, I mean, obviously people were flying and going on holiday and stuff, but I think it was still probably a lot of working class people around the world, for instance. It was still a bit of a novelty to go on holiday somewhere.
Yeah,
definitely
turquoise seas.
Caribbean islands. So there's people would have gone to a theater to see that, right? Just to soak that in. So and they threw it all in, to one place, and it works like that as well, right? Because when it's not being zombie, it's quite tranquil and almost like a travelogue, and they decided, beautiful people in beautiful locations, people like to see that, and now it's the 70s, so we can have them doing a bit more than they used to do in the old days. Yeah, no, it's a fascinating kind of time capsule, I suppose.
There's a
And
scene
they
that I
just
really
got
like.
go for it in the goal as well, I think, surprisingly, considering
Yeah.
that a bit odds with the hardcore pornography.
Yeah, that's always there's a certain tension that gets up when you have actual unsimulated sex and then somebody's throat slashed, or you're like, oh fuck, wow, okay, we're gonna go to both ends of the extreme. I like there's a forensic scientist who shows up early on in the film, because the zombies do appear sporadically at the beginning, right? At one point, George Eastman like hits one in the head with a big fishing hook or whatever, right? And then they cut to some forensic scientist who seems really squeamish around maggots. I thought that's a strange phobia to have if you're a guy who deals with corpses. And as per usual, they're not actually maggots; they're mealworms. But then there's a great scene later in the film where Mark Shannon picks up this amulet thing and throws it to the ground, at which point it turns into a cat and it bounces back up onto his face. And it's really strange and very cool. And then immediately I was thinking, oh shit, it's like Luciano Rossi again. Is he going to get like his face all, but
Right.
Oh, and then he gets his dick bitten off, which is also another very recurring motif actually across a number of these Joe D'Amato 70s to 80s porny horror kind of things. Laura Gemser, right, bites off Mark Shannon's dick in this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what is it a trick ending or whatever? Like, I mean, there's this whole question at the end of whether or not like Eastman and the girl have just gone mad and that there was nobody else on the island. Are we supposed to take that seriously or not?
I just assumed events took place as
we see them.
And then they were just driven mad bit. But yeah, I don't know. It could be.
But we haven't mentioned the stuff with the bottle yet, have we?
Oh yes, no, you're right. You're right. That is in this film. Yes, there is. Yes, that scene felt like it came right out of one of the like naughty porno nights of the world, kind of like striptease with. And I kept thinking to myself, the amount of pressure in a champagne bottle, like that thing would have ended up in her larynx. If she had actually managed to uncork it with her badge. But yes.
Oh no! You're underestimating the beef curtains of steel necessary.
I see.
Yeah. No, that is not a myth to be trifled with.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but no, it is a bit of again fascinating mix of this, that, bit of this, bit of that.
Yeah.
but I suppose what's the element about it that's confusing is I guess if you expect something like that, then well, at least it's gonna look grotty,
right?
But it doesn't.
No,
it looks great.
Yes,
that's the that's the incongruous kind of part of it, right? Is wow, this all looks really good, and everyone seems quite committed, and
yeah, Eastman's really giving
cynical. It's not cynical. It's actually kind of it's an interesting one. Okay, right. I don't think we're going to solve this mystery today.
Nope.
If you have any thoughts on these, let us know. Send your mail to Sweet Potato Cock Crimson or whatever you called it earlier. Right. So
speaking of Sweet Potato Cocks, I think we're on to
Do you like porno? Do you like the Holocaust? Then you will love Porno Holocaust.
Thank Christ it's not one of those sex camp number 12 films out of Italy, because yes, we're talking more in the cannibal Holocaust, I suppose, in a way vein than anything else, right?
Than Claude Lanzmann's Shoah. Yes, I think so, yeah.
Right. Yes, I hadn't even thought about that.
I was so disappointed. I'd seen Shoah the week before, and I turned up at my local art house theatre, and it was nothing like it. So yeah, so we're back. Well, we're gonna get used
We're
to
literally on the same fucking island because I'm pretty
so,
sure
yeah.
like, we definitely see that same long stretch of white beach with the palm
Yeah.
fringe.
Oh, sorry. So one thing, actually, probably the best element of Sexy Nights we forgot to mention is the music by Marcello Giombini, or
Yep.
Pluto Kennedy, as he's credited. And so that's the thing. I think that's the thing that helped me differentiate these films a little bit, was who was doing the music.
Right. Is it Stelvio Cipriani? Is it
Yeah. So this one is Nico Fidenko's back, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so this one is kind of pretty much this kind of the same film, except there's, well, I suppose there is a zombie in it, sort of, maybe. I don't exactly know.
I think he's a mutant of
He's a
some kind.
mutant, yeah.
It's a bit more Hills Have Eyes than Zombie in that
The
way.
Hills Have Cocks.
Yes.
And so does Mark Shannon.
I was going to say, actually, that this film does something that I thought the last film should have done, really. The Erotic Nights of the Living Dead, right? Because there's that great scene in Zombie. Like, what I mean, when you think of the movie Zombie, I mean, you think of that scene. It's Tisa Farrow, right? Who gets grabbed by the hair and dragged slowly towards that fucking giant splinter, right? Eyeball open.
Yeah, it's not Tisa Farrow, but yeah.
Okay, who is it? Whoever it's the other actress, whoever the other actress is. Anyway, yeah. So obviously,
it's Mia Farrow.
Mia, yes, that's the one. So yeah, why was that not recreated in an oral sex context? Like that seems such an easy thing to have done.
Putting it out there, yeah.
Right,
Nick, there's still time. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, this film gets close. But I just like the cut back between the eye and the splinter in the eye, and
yeah, it could have been Mark Shannon's cock. Mark Shannon.
That's what they should have done. Right. Anyway, but yes, so this is the one where Eastman now plays a scientist, which is awesome untypecasting to my mind. I was like, wait, what? He's a scientist?
He's a scientist now, kind of wearing the same flared jeans and everything, though, that he well actually, so it's him and Mark Shannon as he's the guy who's been hired to pilot
captain,
boats, right? Yeah. And then someone else, George DeBryan, I think his name is.
Is he playing like an investigative reporter who's for some reason following them, but like we don't really know why?
No, he's like the third. He's like the scientist guy who.
Sorry.
Yeah, doesn't get much to do. He was also in Pleasure 7th Avenue, actually.
Okay. But there is another guy then. There is another guy who's trailing them and trying to figure out what they're going to do, and he's maybe a reporter or something.
Joe D'Amato is a reporter in it.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, he turns up early on, right? He's like he's the reporter character who is trying to find out. And then there's 3 female scientists. The important thing is that there's 3 hot female scientists, right? There's Dirce Fanari again, Lucia Ramirez again, and my particular favorite, Ange Gorin.
Yes, a little Pat Benatar haircut that she shows up in endless
she's my favorite of these lot. I like me some Ange Gorin. She's not in that much other than this cluster of. She's in some stuff.
Neither is Lucia Ramirez.
Loads of stuff, but yeah, she's not in.
There's an incredibly libelous bit of trivia about this film on the IMDb. I don't know if you've noticed it.
No.
So Mark Shannon, he didn't want to have sex with that actress.
Ange Gorin.
Yeah, because apparently she was using drugs on the set and just like having sex with like random people she found on the street.
Oh, really?
He didn't want to have sex with her or something, and started trying to get out of it. God,
interesting.
Can it be any bigger? Wake up call. You change your lifestyle. If even Mark Shannon doesn't want to have sex.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about Ange Gorin. If there's something about her.
She plays a countess in this, which is
a Contessa, yeah.
Contessa, yes.
Yeah.
I also do like the fact that the hook in this initially is that like strange things are happening on this island that they're going to go to, which immediately made me think, oh shit, is it giant mantises? I was hoping it was, but it turns out it's even more Diane Smithy than that.
I was going to say you're bearing the lead. It's giant crabs.
Yes, exactly.
Which unfortunately we don't see. I mean, that would propel this film into the stratosphere, like the best film ever, right? If there were some giant crabs in it.
What was the one that you and I watched that was kind of adjacent to Diane Smith territory?
Island Claws.
Island Claws, yes, which had a lot of forced perspective, like, you know, claws coming in. That
Yeah. And Ange Gorin doesn't even suck a cock in that one. So
no.
Very disappointing.
But yes, I was also hoping for some giant crab action, but we didn't get it.
But yes, so they go to this island to they do basically go to investigate biological giant crabs and biological mutation from, I guess there's been some sort of
bikini atoll kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, some nuclear testing has been going on in the Caribbean, apparently. Who knew? Could be.
Yeah, pretty close to the US. You know, you think they might not want to do it, but you know.
And then after an awful lot of casual sex,
my favorite scene actually is when Ange goes off and she pays for two African American or African Dominican guys to have sex with her, and I'm thinking, she had to pay them to have sex with her. It seems that's
unlikely. A really hot scene as well, actually.
Oh yeah.
That's a good scene. That's
no complaints on
straight up good utilitarian
good porn.
Yeah.
Yes. But I just laughed at the concept of like that. Yeah, that, you know, they were being paid.
I wonder if one of the guys in that scene is possibly the same guy who plays the zombie, because they seem to like go to great lengths to disguise his face later on in the film. I wonder if it could be like one of those actors.
Yeah, a few of these films as well have very incomplete credits right over at the IMDb and stuff as well. So even some quite main roles, we don't know who they are, right?
Well, yes, to protect the innocent and guilty alike.
Guilty, yeah.
Actually, the one thing that made me laugh out loud about that scene is right at the end when one of the guys is about to come, he fully looks at the camera to get the nod from Joe that if it's okay for him to come, he's like, and then like he's clearly told it, yeah, you can go ahead, and they just left it in. It's awesome.
Yeah, so basically after a lot of this, fucking about, basically Demanuro, right, who is the mute. I don't know what happened to him exactly. He's kind of his face makeup is like a weird mixture of like volcanic pig or something.
Right.
So he turns up.
Possibly the child. He's a child who was like, his parents were also on the island, but they have died, and he lives in a cave with their mummified remains. Right? Yeah.
And he caves in a few heads. Face fucks Ange Gorin, rapes someone to death. It seems choke someone else out. I know it's quite good. George Eastman was like, when he was writing in his death, he was, he just chokes me to death. Like,
I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
I was also just thinking about the fact that like it would have been hilarious because like right after there is the Facebook death, you know, then some dudes wander the beach and he kills them with a rocket. It's like it would have been so much more awesome if he'd also Facebooked them to death. Then the movie would have really been off the rails. Like anything can happen, but obviously, the mutants doesn't swing that way, I guess.
Yeah. So this mutant, does everyone in really, I guess, and he also kidnaps Lucia Ramirez, takes her back to his cave, and seems to be very protective of her.
She's cute.
Okay.
When I first saw this on like I think it was like Luminous Film and Video Works VHS, where they put all these like homemade subtitles on it, and in the scene where the dying reporter tries to describe the creature to Mark Shannon, I'm sure it was translated as something like the creature, he looked like a cross between King Kong and a regular black man. But in the more recent one, it just said he's like a cross between a man and a monster. So I don't know which one of those is more truer to the original dialogue. But there's a certain sort of King Kong type quality to him taking the girl back and trying to communicate with her, giving her food, things like that.
Yeah, that's true. Or Queen Kong, even. Yeah. No, it's once again, again, I don't know why this is 114 minutes long.
Yes. Well, it's because there's a lot of full length, porn scenes to get through before you actually get anywhere near the island again, right?
This time watching this film, and amazingly, I think I've seen this film about 4 times now in my life, but I think this one, oddly enough, played a lot better. So Erotic Nights of the Living Dead, I've always thought of as the superior film overall, but it's such a film of different parts that don't necessarily fit together. But this kind of works more of a piece. I mean, it's not to everyone's liking, but it does play like it doesn't feel as if it changes from one type of film to another film. It is
it's because the villain is kind of a sexual menace.
Yeah, maybe right. It just seems like a bit more. And this time, I don't know, I was prepared for it or something, but I sat back and I just kind of let it wash over me in terms of the beautiful creations, and then people, beautiful people fucking and stuff, and then just segues into this. It's almost quite dreamlike in a way. So I don't know. I kind of. This feels a bit more, in a way, it feels a bit more like a, I don't know what the correct word is, but it holds together more, well, as a thing unto itself. Although what that thing is, I'm not quite sure why it exists, but
right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think that is maybe, as I said, because like in the other film, the zombies almost seem like extraneous in a way, or else they're in their own movie, which is a zombie movie, and then you have all these good-looking people having sex, and then they kind of intersect. Whereas this, as I said, because the villain is actually a kind of a serial rapist mutant monster, it connects the two parts of the film a bit more. It just has some great dialogue. There's a part where Ange Goren says to one of her girlfriends, "Those black bastards really busted my hole," which is some really classy dialogue. And I also love the fact that like the J&B placement in Joe D'Amato's films is like the product placement is like you're always like, there's no way J&B signed off on this or wanted anything to do with like because sometimes it's literally in a hardcore sex scene that like the bottle is like in front of the camera. So I'm thinking like,
no, I very much doubt someone took a side and Joe, no, you're doing great work here, but is there any chance the next time there's a bottle in the scene, could it be next to this kind of bleeding vagina by any chance? That would be really good. Our marketing shows that.
Anyway, it's a weird one.
I suppose the weird thing is, and again, this might be me more than anything else, I think this is the first time I'd watched this film and didn't think it was boring.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't think I ever thought it was boring. I did laugh again out loud right at the very end when they get off the island, like the last 2 survivors, and immediately they just start boning in their like dinghy or whatever. I was like, really, you've just a bunch of people that have just been savagely murdered, and they're like, yep, time to get back to fucking, and that's the end of the film.
And then a crew member popped his head up in the last scene. Did you see that?
Yes.
But what I like about that scene as well is, and this is not, I mean, the one thing you can't fault Joe D'Amato for in general, all his stuff is, I mean, sometimes you wonder why on earth it exists exactly or why they decided to do that, but at least it's well done. But yeah, there's no way, they're clearly not at sea, right? They're clearly
Oh,
just on the edge of a beach or something,
yeah.
sat in a boat that isn't moving and going,
Yeah.
oh my God, we're in the middle of nowhere. And you're thinking, no, you're not. You're just
Mhm.
on the edge of, and then the next shot, it's out just a little bit because they
Mhm.
wanted some kind of wider shot to it. But you can tell just the water's really shallow and you can see
Yeah.
sand. And I'm thinking, oh, that's one slight, that's the, least convincing thing in the whole film, right? Is when they're supposed to be adrift at sea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just thought it's such a cheery ending, really, that like we've had all this trauma and horror, and then it's right back to like, yeah, let's let's fucking fuck.
Yeah,
Like
we can
life.
get a quick one in before that boat reaches us.
Yeah, literally, it's like the last minute before the credits roll. They're like, yeah, I think we've got time for one more.
Yeah. Down, 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 down. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, was this a chore for you, Gav, or did this
Well, I've seen it.
you
I've seen
in
it
a
before, so I sort of know what I was in for. But yeah, it just like 70 minutes before any real like horror elements kick in. Now it keeps you waiting quite a while for them.
there's a lot of porno before the Holocaust.
Yes. But I mean, truth is truth in advertising. They did. You know what you're getting into when you rent Porno Holocaust.
Maybe.
Maybe, maybe not. Yeah.
No, I'm not sure if that's quite right there, Nick.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I know. I hope so. I hope no one, curating a video shop put this in the, the Jewish studies part
right.
of the video shop or something, or
Yes. There might have been complaints.
Yeah, this isn't how it happened. Right. So, oh yeah.
What are we on to next?
Well, I guess. Well, hang on. Let's have a look here. Have a look at my notes. We could go anywhere really. Shall we go to? Yes, let's go to Porno Esotic Love. There.
Okay. It's a second here.
Because we've seen this film before.
Oh yes, we have. Well, about 60% of it anyway.
Yes. So Porno Erotic Love, I suppose even you could say it's an alternate cut of Black Cobra.
Mm-hmm.
From
Fred Williamson is barely in this one. But yeah, Jack Palance is notably absent. I'm assuming they knew that of all of the people in the original film, he would not be best pleased to find himself in a film that had a bunch of hardcore scenes now added. So, whereas I think Gabrielle Tinty probably wouldn't have given a flying fuck, right?
Or that little green snake.
In terms of its structure, it seems to remind me a bit of those like Al Adamson sort of films where they shot one film and then brought back some cast and then shot some more scenes to change it into a sort of different type of film.
Yes, in fact, I'm pretty sure like there are scenes that have actors like from the original film interacting with actors that are not in the original film, right? Like there is some scenes with Ange Goren actually with Tinty and Laura Gemser, and I was like, oh, hang on, they must have shot this specifically for this version of the film. So yeah, they must have known what they were kind of getting into.
Yeah, no, good to see some added Ange Goren. That's always good.
Yeah, so she plays what, like a junkie or something like that in this, right?
Yes,
she seems to have died of a heroin overdose or something, and then
Laura
Gemser's trying to
Joe delivering the sexy goods once again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so oddly enough, so this is a lot of footage from Black Cobra, and with some Mark Shannon's cock thrown in for good measure.
Yeah,
you can never have too much of that. And yeah, again, DJ Funari and the lovely Ange Goren. But oddly enough, as far as I could tell, because we were seeing this without the benefit of subtitles, but from what I could figure out and also looking up at the reviews online, curiously, the plot isn't actually a million miles away from the original Black Cobra, right?
No, I think it's pretty close. we certainly get we get a lot of the big hits from that film, right? We get the little green mamba snake or whatever thrown into the bed with the blonde. You know, we get the snake shoved up Tinty's ass at the end to eat his bowels again. So yeah, and we get lots of Laura Gemser dancing around with snakes. And then just shit tons of footage of them wandering the markets of Hong Kong. And I was so happy to see the snake get flayed and fried again. So thanks, Joe.
Yeah, that's always good. That does look delicious, I have to say. Watching this again.
But whatever the soy sauce is, it does look all right.
When they handed the bowls and the little crispy snake bits, and I'm thinking, I quite fancy some snake right about now.
But then obviously we do get Ange, and is this the one where she's constantly giving Shannon blowjobs, where every other scene is him demanding a blowjob?
It's all blending together in my mind.
Right.
But I am a big fan. I have to. There's something about her little pixie haircut I looked her up, and it's such a shame. I assumed she would have had a long career, like a hardcore career or something, because she seems, pretty game, right? I thought, but no, apparently not. She doesn't have that many credits.
Yes, this is because I'm reading from Letterboxd. It says the new sequences largely deal with another secret agent lady who reports to a boss and is then coerced into blowjobs every 2 or 3 scenes. So that's Shannon and her. Yeah.
Yeah, Shannon being the M character, I suppose.
So, yeah, this is apparently was on that box set. Hey, this was the Black Emmanuel box set. This is
the separate box set. As an extra.
As an extra, yes.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if that's actually subtitled, so that when that's more available, we may have to revisit this.
We're gonna have to watch it again.
And get a better sense of.
Sadly, I'm so up for that.
I'm sure you are, Clive. Apparently it's a French dub that they've used, so it's a bit easier to they said it's a bit better because it's not just the same dub you've already heard from the English stuff. You know what I mean? So they can get away with kind of changing the dialogue a bit more and kind of.
No, I as long as I've got a legit excuse to watch Ange Goren some more.
Mm-hmm. Well, I assume it'll be a much better print. I can only imagine. I would hope.
Yeah. You can see the tonsils.
Yep. But yeah. It is a bit it's a pretty cheeky move. Let's be honest. Taking movies you've just released a few years before and just shooting another couple of scenes and throwing them out as another film. It's.
Well, the thing with this kind of thing that always kind of fascinates me as well is once you open that door and you think, oh, hang on, I can put out something I've done before and just add, you just wonder about the choices made. How do you go about it? How will you present it? Which footage will you, how do you decide what other footage to use? What's the new story? I find that kind of endless, because if you're going to do this, you could have gone so many different ways, right? You could have decided what to include, what not to include, and what to add. And I kind of find that I'm really interested. I would really like for someone to do someone who was there, who was involved, to give a commentary, someone who edited it or something, and explain exactly why it was this confection was made in this way.
What is interesting is it's a very different proposition than, say, a Godfrey Ho, right, where he has taken somebody else's film and then shot footage and then kind of interpolated it, right, or interpolated, however you fucking say that word, into someone else. But this is his own film, right, that he has gone back and done that same process with. So yeah.
Well, yeah, and also, I mean, with the IFT stuff, for example, as fucked as it is, as warped as you kind of slightly understand the commercial imperative. You're like, okay, we got this film, it's perfectly serviceable, but to sell it around the world, we need
Richard Harrison.
Yeah, or
Richard Harrison.
So we'll just
Um,
to get away with it, we'll just shoot a bit new footage, put it in, and then we can legitimately sell it as Ninja this, Ninja that, as long as we have these scenes every now. It's a, I mean, you're into a strange headspace when you can, where that makes sense to you, but it kind of makes sense. But with something like this, you're wondering, at what point did someone make when did they add up the strange mathematics that were like, that Black Cobra woman, yeah, we can squeeze some more money out of that, but rather than just reissue it or put it out with a new title, or which they did as well, right? They were like, oh, hang on, we can get this. I suppose the idea would have been, well, if we throw some hardcore in, we can put it into hardcore theaters. I guess that's the thinking, right? And then take it from there. I guess that's
But I guess because they had to take all the Jack Palance scenes out, there wasn't enough movie. They had to shoot some more stuff to compensate for that. We take all the Jack Palance stuff out, it's probably not going to happen. Feature length film.
Right.
Yeah.
And then just endless Mark Shannon blowjobs, basically.
You do kind of, I think, don't you just fleetingly see Jack Palance once or twice?
Do you?
Like in the background, kind of like in a restaurant scene or something. I think you can just, if you know it's him, you're like, yeah.
Okay. No, I mean, because there's one scene like there's during one of Laura Gemser's dances, and it's like when they cut to the reaction shot, it's Mark Shannon reacting instead of Jack Palance to her dance, right? And I was okay, I can see what they've done there. They've just
right. Yeah. What's fascinating about that as well is that they would have been wary enough that if they'd have had the balls to just put it out and Jack Palance in Porno or whatever, that he would have come down on them like a ton of bricks, or like, because I wonder if he would have even had a legal standing.
It's hard to know.
Because I can't imagine it would have played in some theater for like a week or something, maybe. Like it played in France for a week, it played in Spain for a week, it played in Italy for a week or something, and then it would have disappeared, right? So there's a good chance they might have. I mean, wouldn't get away with it now. Obviously, someone would be on Twitter and, dude, you'll never guess. Is in this,
It's a hardcore film, it's funny. A couple of things that jumped out at me. There's one scene in this movie where Shannon pokes at a woman with what looks like a shillelagh. He kind of like, and then sticks it in like near her vag, which is weird. But then I kept thinking to myself, with the mustache, and in this role particularly where he kind of plays like a more of a hard ass, I thought it's really too bad that the bloom was off the Euro crime film, because he would have made a great Maurizio Merli type in a porn Euro crime.
This is true.
And I could just see him like, like maybe a BDSM kind of a thing where he's like, I can't come, my hands are tied, I can do nothing. And I was like, fuck, that would have been sweet.
Where would have been the safe route as well, because you would have been danger of, if you'd have handed over Ange Goren to Maurizio Merli, he would have had a heart attack even earlier in his life, right?
Exactly. But yeah, anyway, I mean, this is a weird one just because I was like, well, I've definitely seen most of this film before, and what I haven't seen is just pretty much porn, which is fine because I'm quite comfortable with all of these people now. I feel like I know.
What kind of porn viewer are you? You need to get to know. I would be enjoying this, but no, I
don't know any of these people.
I'm not familiar with any of these people like that.
No, you do get to a certain rhythm or a groove with this set of films where you're like, oh, sweet.
The rhythm is there again. You don't need to know people.
Well, maybe you don't, Clive, but you'll find that ex-Catholics like myself, we like to feel like we have some sort of relationship with the people that whose bodies we're exploiting for our pleasure.
Nice to see as well that the Irish in you. It's like You see shillelaghs everywhere.
Of course, obviously. Do we have anything else to say about
Yeah,
porno?
I'm just
Esotic
wondering
love?
if there's any more shillelaghs going to pop up in any more of these films.
I can only hope.
Shillelagh Holocaust. So, yeah, so I guess, okay, so let's mix it up a little bit here.
Okay.
We're still in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
But this one, I suppose, is the outlier of the Dominican group. Paradiso Blue, right?
Oh, yeah. What the fuck?
Well,
this thing.
What's
Okay,
kind of interesting about, again, I mean, all these films at this time all shot around the same place and all kind of slightly interchange. Like I was like, what? Which one's this again? Is this Erotico Blue Climax Holocaust?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Which hard Paradise Blue? Which
Blue,
one is which? I'm not quite sure.
But this one is easy. This one is the easiest, I think, to distinguish because it's Pee-wee's Big Adventure, right? Basically.
Well, yes, it's almost a mainstream film, isn't it?
Yeah, and it stars the fucking dude who, within a year or two, was the star of the Porky's.
Dan Monahan.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what?
And Anna Bergman.
Yes, yeah, Ingmar's daughter, who I didn't realize. This is, you know, has anyone written a book about her and like Camille Keaton and like the children and grandchildren of like super famous, you know, Hollywood stars who went that route into sleaze?
Interestingly, Anna Bergman as well must have been very familiar with Barry Evans, right? Because not only is she in Adventures of a Taxi Driver, she was also a regular on, I think we'll all agree, that absolutely hilarious sitcom, Mind Your Language. Like, I know Gav knows what I'm talking about, but
I don't know if
you remember Mind Your Language?
No.
This was a comedy set at like a language school.
Okay.
And Barry Evans was the teacher, and yes, of course, Anna Bergman was the like the Swedish au pair kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
When, like, is it 70s, 80s?
When was late 70s into
late 70s?
Yeah.
I should know this. I'm gonna okay. When we're done this, I'm going straight to YouTube because it's definitely tickling the back of my brain.
Yeah. Good luck there. Yeah, I think you'll get the measure of it in about 5 minutes and then turn it
right.
off. We're in kind of a lower territory.
Yep.
Yeah. It was pretty awful in memory. I mean, I think it might even make a lower look quite funny in comparison, which is, you know, that's hard to do, right? Yeah, no, it's exactly what you expect, the usual stereotypes, and so Anna Bergman, but then again, Anna Bergman's no hardship to look at.
Nope. So she plays the flight attendant, right? In this basically sort of rip off of
Blue Lagoon, right?
Yeah, Blue Lagoon, and it's got a bit of Swept Away in there too. But instead of being a class thing, it's now more of a like an age thing, right? He's the teenage prep school American boy or whatever, and she's the
So once again, we saw this without the benefit of subs, but I'm assuming it must have been shot English because Dan Monahan's in it and Anna Bergman. And there's an off-screen plane crash. I mean,
well, that's an expensive thing to film, Clive.
No, but still, I mean, that it literally and then cut to the dinghy. Yeah.
Although there is actually one quite effective piece when the plane is kind of, you know.
Is this the shillelagh scene you're going to mention?
Yes. There was a scene where the captain of the ship had to stick a shillelagh in the steering wheel of the plane. No, there's it's a scene where they kind of cut to the outside of the plane and you see through the window and they're in there, they're talking, but you can't hear what they're saying. There's just an intense rushing noise of like the storm. And I was like, it's kind of effectively gets it across without having to really show anything.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But yes, there is an off-screen plane crash.
So they end up on an island and
am I the only person who was like, this film is written by me at the age of 15? Like, this is exactly the kind of sex fantasy I concocted in math class to be like, yes, if I could only be involved in some sort of plane wreck with that girl over there, and we're the only people on this island, and slowly I will convince her that I am, you know, her provider, and I'm a sensitive, you know, new age man who can tend to all her needs. This is my, because I'm not going to have any chance in any other context than there's no other males in existence. This was definitely, I was thinking that this movie is made for that.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because this is the fantasy that was parodied in that Nick Rogue film. Is it called Castaway?
Oh yes, maybe.
The one with Oliver Reed.
Reed, yeah.
It's not Teresa Russell, is it? It's Amanda Donohoe, I think. Is it? I think it's one of them.
Yeah, and it itself, I think that was a kind of, it's also another riff on that Lena Wertmüller's Swept Away. Like she was kind of,
it's the version, where he just gets some kind of disease and the woman doesn't put out, and no, it doesn't. Of course, everyone's fantasy is it turns you're on the island with Phoebe Cates and it turns into paradise, right? Which is the other one of these films,
right?
Probably the most memorable. If you were a Ridgemont High fan, right? It went that extras. I was like, oh, holy shit, that's she's not just playing with bananas now. This is one step further. This is fun. So as far as, complications, and then some other dude, and Lucia Ramirez turns up again
right near the end. Yes.
But
doesn't give anybody a blowjob.
No, Mark Shannon.
Right away, that's a mark against the film. In fact, there's no
Yes.
hardcore to be seen anywhere in this.
So I wonder if someone did produce a hardcore version where they did cut Dan Monahan out and edited in Mark Shannon.
Right.
No, I'm as far as I can tell, this seems a bit boring, this one, doesn't it? I think.
Yep. Yeah, and he seems kind of annoying. I mean, I don't get like through the dub, even like the Italian dub, I was like, he seems really whiny and obnoxious. The Pee-wee character.
It does seem a bit of a you do wonder if someone saw this and thought, that's our Pee-wee. Like we found him. That
is the film that was the most successful Canadian, I believe it's the most successful Canadian film ever made.
Porky's, yes, it was, yeah. That's a great film. It's a great film. I love Porky's. I think it's very
but it almost nearly brought down the whole, because that was all that era in Canadian filmmaking of the tax shelter film.
Right.
All of them got made. And the Canadian government's idea was like, oh, we're going to get all these great art films and stuff, and we're going to be like the celebrated cerebral cinema of the world. And then what we mostly got was, well, we got David Cronenberg,
Rabbit, and Porky's. Yeah, but I think back in the day he hadn't been rescued by the culture.
Debilitated either.
Yeah. So anyway, watch Porky's again.
Yes. Steer clear of this.
If just for Kim Cattrall's scenes alone.
Yep.
And Paradiso Blue, I think 1 shillelagh out of 5, I think, for this one.
Yep. Not even half a sweet potato.
Right. So from Paradiso Blue, I guess, hang on, where are we going next?
Gab, did you have anything you wanted to add about the Paradise?
I don't know. Should I? Are you familiar with the Nigel Neal series, Beef?
Oh yeah.
Do you ever remember the episode Buddy Boy?
Yes.
Well, let's explain. Martin Shaw plays this sort of seedy porno guy who wants to turn a disused aquarium into a porn cinema, but then gets thwarted by the ghost of a dolphin called Buddy Boy. So anyway, promptly on display in this episode of Beast is the poster for Anna's movie Penelope Pulls It Off. Yeah. So I thought, Anna might be interested to know that, this poster for a film was appeared in this, a very highly regarded British TV series. And she was livid that an image was used in that concept of a TV play about the porn industry.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She and she actually wrote on my Facebook page, there was no porn in Penelope, as I have never done porn. Just so you know, I will sue for defamation of character. Not you, but anyone that says I have. As never again, never me. So I don't know what that was all about. But
Wow.
I did try to explain to her that, I wasn't saying she was in porn film, but that a poster for her film was in a TV play about porn industry. But I think dealing with Anna, it's like stepping into an episode of Mind Your Language. Everything I said tended to get misunderstood by her, should I say. So she's the only star of a Joe D'Amato film that ever threatened to sue me for defamation of character.
Well,
yeah,
yes.
I mean, you'd think, I mean, of all things, you'd be most ashamed of having been in Mind Your Language, really, wouldn't you?
Wow.
No, I have never known Barry Evans. I've never met him. I don't know who you're talking about.
Yes, I've definitely got the impression he's a bit of an eccentric, but in a kind of high maintenance way, not in an endearing way.
Wow.
Right. You should send her the link to this episode.
No, don't.
Huh. Crazy.
I
mean, obviously,
no, Mark Shannon. I have never met this Mark.
I was going to say yes. Mark Shannon obviously was the one member of these films who did threaten to sue me over my shillelagh references. He was very upset.
Okay, that's interesting. So I guess we'll go Hard Sensation, maybe.
Is this the one that we got a better print of thanks to?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So this is the one with the usual suspects. Lucina Ramirez seems to be a well, she's a teacher, right? Who's been tasked with chaperoning. Yeah, she's some obnoxious rich people and 3 daughters. Interestingly, actually, of the 3 daughters, we have our own favorites. We have Fenari and we have Ange Garen, and then someone else who isn't credited, right? At the IMDb. But I'd quite like to know who she is. They're all pretty good looking, and she's tasked, with chaperoning them while they go out to a remote island that these obnoxious rich people have just bought. Yes, we just happened to buy this island. We thought it was, it's like, yeah, and they're out there running around topless and enjoying themselves. But
although Lucia is not very pleased.
Well, she's waiting for Mark Shannon to turn up.
Well, yes.
Yeah. And he does. And
he does indeed.
As does George Eastman, and again some uncredited man who they make fun of for being gay, and they all seem to be escaped convicts from somewhere. I don't know which prison. Is there a prison on this island? How did they get to this island?
Or a neighboring island? Or did they?
Anyway, they're on the run.
Alcatraz, maybe.
And of course, they luck out because they arrive on this island with 4 beautiful women on it, and take advantage of
George Eastman, somewhat cast against type here. He's not his usual.
No, he's the good guy. He's the
good bad guy.
Yeah, he's the good bad guy. Mark Shannon's the bad guy, and the other one.
The other guy's maybe the worst bad guy. There's that whole scene where like something goes on with the like another male who dies, and it's really nebulous as what exactly happened, but it seemed like it was something maybe sexual that happens off camera, and that's. Like, ooh.
Yeah, no, he wastes no time in getting stuck in there. And there's hardcore here as well, of course. So, and eventually it turns out to be the rape revenge thing that you expect. There's a
for all of a minute, maybe 2.
Yeah,
the revenge part of this rape revenge film is exceedingly slim. Most of the film is just the girls getting abused.
That's fine. That's all you need. You just need. I mean. Yeah, you just need a bit of that That's all you need, and then you can get away with all the other stuff.
Yes, Shannon has an amazing line because he's been in jail, right, for a while. He has the line, it's been 2 years since I dipped the biscuit.
Yeah, no, he's got some very good dialogue. He's like, he's always angry, and he's always like throwing homophobic slurs at the. But it's just because the.
Oh, also, I don't fuck virgins on a full stomach. It's too much work.
Yeah.
Is the hymen really that difficult to break through, Mark? Is it
one day you'll find out, Nick.
Build up a sweat.
It takes a couple of shillelaghs to get through that sometimes. Yeah, but the thing is that so the gay character as well, even though he's put upon by the extremely homophobic
Mark Shannon,
he's not a sympathetic character at all.
Oh God, not at all.
He's a little shit, isn't he? Like
he's a total scumbag
who just happens to be gay, right?
And Shannon himself is in jail for, and I quote, killing that bitch who wouldn't put out.
Yeah, no, he's a lot of fun in this one. I feel as if this was a bit like, because in all his other ones in this group anyway, I'm not overly familiar with Mark Shannon outside of this. You know, he's kind of vaguely kind of handsome and manly, and but he plays a shit quite well. I quite like to see him as a shit.
He has far more range, honestly, than any porn actor should have. I have to say, like across the films, in each film he plays like he's kind of in a way he's a bit schlubby as the one in Erotic Nights of the Living Dead, and then as the captain in Porno Holocaust, he's quite like manly in his white shirt and hat, and then this one he's a real piece of shit. Like I'm impressed. He's got a bit of that the Jamie Gillis the thespian porn actor. It's not something you actually see that much, to be honest.
Yeah, no, so and we got Alessandroni's score as well. So I would say this one this is one of those rare ones that it's more or less a straight up kind of thriller that has breaks into hardcore every now and again and works. Like you can sit there and you can enjoy it, and then you have the extra frissons, the hardcore, and it's not 114 minutes long. It's like 85 minutes. So I thought this was actually quite good in its little category of, sexy thriller.
Yeah, in fact, if anything, it fulfills the promise maybe that the pleasure shop on 47th Street doesn't do. This is the one that kind of has the same idea, but does follow through.
Yeah. Did you get on with Hard Sensation, Gav? Did this?
Yeah, this was quite a
hard for you.
Yeah, it's almost like it's similar to sort of Pleasure Shop on 7th Avenue, but I think with Pleasure Shop sort of begins aggressively and then sort of mellows out towards the end, whereas this one sort of mellowed for the first half hour, then becomes almost like Pleasure Shop in reverse. Then it becomes like aggressive for like the last hour.
Yeah, no, I particularly enjoyed Anja Garen in this one as well, because she does victimized really well, I think. Yeah. No, I'd have given her a shillelagh or two, that's for sure.
I also like this has got the best of all the J&B product placements, because the our gay villain character like force feeds it to one of the girls. Like I was like, oh, like who the fuck wants their product shown in this light? Yeah.
What do you mean? It's wish fulfillment.
He's uncredited as well, and
yeah, him and the third of the
girls,
the rich girls, they're both uncredited.
And he's also in Porno Holocaust as one of the guys on the shit. Yeah, so not credited in that. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, because it's it's a I do wonder about how they've managed to avoid being identified, because they're not. It's not a minor role, right? It's like a proper, quite a big part of the film, and as well, the other chick as well. You'd think someone would have tracked down who she is, but yeah. Anyway, yeah. So not that much to say about it, but definitely,
it's definitely in the top half of the 8 films we watched for this episode. It's definitely in the top 4.
Well, I was just going to say, looking at kind of if you were kind of trying to be close to objective about it, I suppose, just in terms of a film that does what it sets out to do most effectively. It might be the best of the bunch.
Yeah, because it's not like 2 hours long, and
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
Um,
It is very much of a piece, as you said. Like I think, like it's more of cut from a whole cloth than it doesn't feel as pieced together as some of the other things do.
yeah.
I've never heard of this one before. It's not got the notoriety Erotic Nights Limited or Porno.
No, I wonder why, because you would have thought as well that it would not only appeal to people like in Joe D'Amato completists or whatever, but also that the people who seek out those hardcore films that work, like Sex Wish, or Fourth Entry, or I mean, it's not. I suppose it's not as rough as those films.
I'm just fascinated by what's George Eastman doing, just to go from a few years before doing spaghetti westerns and stuff to now just being like, yeah, sure, I'm in hardcore. I'm not actually doing hardcore scenes, but I'm in hardcore sex films.
Well, that's the fascinating bit, that he still drew that line, right? But then again, I suppose neither of us are quite old enough to remember that period of time where for a while there, I mean, it genuinely was a kind of cool thing to be involved in.
Like porno chic.
It was a sign that you were a progressive, not hung up,
free thinking, a very open-minded fellow.
A very open-minded fellow, yes. The title of my upcoming autobiography. Yes.
So, and I said, again, like cautiously recommended to people who know what they're getting into, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing is, I was listening to myself talk and I'm saying, this one's, this is not so rough. And I'm thinking, oh, hang on. Think normal person.
Right.
Yes, no. But
maybe don't sit down on a first date and break this one out.
Unless you're on a date with Ange Goran.
Yes.
You
may get a contact STD just from holding hands. So
bring your
Mark Shannon is anything to judge by.
Yes. No, that's very unfair of you, Nick, I think.
I was Mark Shannon who said that, I'll have you know.
It sounded like suspiciously like your voice I just heard.
Which is I think why he's suing me.
Right. Okay.
So what's up next?
I think we want to do Orgasmo Nero.
Oh yes. What the fuck is Richard Harrison doing in one of that? That's another good question.
Sex and Black Magic, Black Orgasm, Voodoo Baby. Take your pick.
I feel like he made the same. I read an interview with him just today, actually, from Nanarland, which I've read a few times over this. I think I read it back when we talked about him for the Lindsay things, right? And it does come up. This film does come up, and he cops a plea very similar to the one for the Godfrey Ho films, but it's less believable here. It's kind of like I had no idea that there was going to be what you're in sex scenes like with your pants off, Richard. Like it's like, but he kind of tries to put out like he was somehow tricked into like being in these scenes. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway. But again, speaking of uncredited people, the one person who never talks about this early credit is Owen Wilson. Never fesses up to being in this.
I'm glad that you noticed that, because I only refer to him as Owen Wilson entirely through my notes.
We don't know who he is. We don't know who he is, right?
So it clearly is Owen Wilson's dad.
It is Owen Wilson, yeah.
It's quite uncanny actually. So
again, Nick, just if we're in our little bubble here, it's not that uncanny. He's not a dead ringer, but wait a minute.
No, all right.
Down.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'm glad you noticed it too.
Yes. So this one, Richard Harrison is an anthropologist.
Yep.
Which is kind of all right. It's up there with whatever. What was Denise Richards supposed to be in that Bond film, like a nuclear physicist or something?
Yeah. Well, we just had George Eastman as a physicist, a nuclear physicist, in 2 movies back or whatever, 3 movies back.
But anyway, whatever he's doing, Richard Harrison looks at great pains. Whatever he's doing, really, isn't he? He looks like he has the weight of the world on his shoulders.
he does a lot of light typing. I seem to remember he spent a lot of time sitting at a typewriter.
Yeah, yeah, he does. There's a scene, isn't there? You can tell someone's kind of coaching him through the performance, right? You can almost hear the off-screen. Look sad, Richard. Look sad. Not that sad. No, not that sad. Look thoughtful. Look towards the. Ah, it's good. It's good, Richard. Look at the ninja. Look at the ninja. But he's here and he's an anthropologist, and we first see him at an old man is being killed by a shark.
A shark, yep.
So his daughter, Lucia Ramirez, has to eat his heart, I guess.
Yeah. It's her dad. I think it's her dad.
Yeah. A bit of kind of a bit of a bit of like Caribbean folklore that they just made up, I think.
Yeah.
Pretty sure none of the stuff. I don't think they had an on-set answer. I think Richard Harrison was actually the on-set.
Yes, the on-set anthropologist.
Yeah. And his wife turns up. Neves Navarro turns up.
Yeah, this is an interesting role for her too. She kind of like kind of slowly descended into like sleazier and sleazier roles from like having earlier stuff.
So she's the MILF of the piece, right? I guess. And she turns up, and
I love how Owen Wilson meets her at wherever they first meet, and his immediate question is like, "So how are the gynecological problems then?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Wow, that's a weird way to begin a conversation with somebody."
Owen Smooth Wilson. Yes, and so she turns up. She immediately takes. Well, yeah, obviously Harrison isn't satisfying her.
Yes, she's willing to screw anyone but him.
Yeah, he's not doing it for her.
And he wants to have a kid, right? This is why she's going to see this gynecological specialist, right? Because she isn't able to conceive, and he wants a kid, but she doesn't really want a kid anyway.
So she starts hanging out with Lucia Ramirez because, why wouldn't you? And and eventually takes her off the island as well. And I suppose, it's the.
She kind of becomes part of the jet set, right? She like all the Jets people, like they're really into to Lucia.
Taming the savage, right? And there's all these predatory.
Yeah, there's a Pygmalion element to this for sure.
Yeah. Yes, and
Richard Harrison has a great line where like Lucia's mom is whipping her. So in order to leave the village, she has to go through this kind of ritual, like abasement kind of.
Which again, they've totally made up.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And then Richard Harrison is like, "Relax, it's just a custom."
Right.
Because he knows, because he's Richard Harrison.
He's an anthropologist. Yeah. And at some point, Mark Shannon. Cock being sucked by Lucia Ramirez turns up as a dream sequence.
Yeah. Did they just? I was almost wondering, did they just shoot all these things back to back on the same day? Like, there's also certain scenes where they're in a boat, and I'm like thinking they just like have 3 cast members hide. Okay, so this is for this film, so you guys fucking get out of the shot, because you're not in that one. But
you go for a walk for half hour, come back in a bit.
And then we'll shoot.
But unfortunately, Mark, you got to be hard the whole time. Yes.
Which, in fairness, he usually is. He doesn't struggle to maintain.
Yes. So obviously things don't turn out. Everything kind of sours as you might expect. But it does end on. It's got quite a nice little surprise ending, I think, which we might not want to spoil. But it's genuinely quite. I didn't see that coming. It was a bit darker than I thought.
Right.
See, I thought this was going to go in a direction that, with all the speak about having a baby and stuff like that, and then the other stuff about her father being sort of a restless spirit. I thought she was going to try and put her father's spirit into the baby. But
yeah.
But that
you might have just written a better film, Gav.
Yeah. But all that seems to sort of disappear towards the end,
Yeah, there's a really weird thing where she goes into a guy's room with a machete, and then like it's never spoken of again. Nobody even asks, like, why were you in why did you take the machete into his room? Like, it's just like, no, we've moved past that. That's fine.
Which was the film we watched where someone's dead father's spirit was in a bottle? That was one of these.
Yes.
Which one was that? Was that the that was the one where Mark Shannon went somewhere because he had some sort of testicular cancer, right?
Papaya.
Oh,
No,
Yes.
no,
Not Papaya.
no, not Papaya. The other one. Yeah. No. Yes. Fuck. What was that? How was that one?
Exotic
Like
Man.
Sesto Nero or something like that. Like black sex or Yes.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
I was thinking about these as well. There's a bunch of these, and this is definitely in that. So I guess as a sort of weird response to, so you would have had the blaxploitation boom in the States, right? And most of those films are African Americans. It's the African American experience, either realistically or fantasy version or action version or whatever. But then I'm trying to think, like all the kind of European films that kind of dabbled in the fetishization of black people and sex and erotica and stuff like that. It's all on like faraway places, isn't it? It's all it's over there, and
Right.
so they're a very different. It's a very different sort of well, a more kind of colonial take on this, isn't it? It's kind of interesting how that kind of
It's like they didn't want to deal with it within like the France or
I mean, there's like a couple of British films I can think of, like Babylon or something like that, to do with Jamaicans living in the UK and stuff like that and stuff. But yeah, there didn't seem to have been like, you didn't get like, the American, we didn't really get a spate of like blaxploitation. All these European, they're off in the Caribbean or they're off in Africa or they're somewhere far away, and it's all very exotic and exoticized, and this is kind of an interesting distinction.
Is that, I wonder if is that the legacy of the Mondo film in a way? Maybe that's just the
right. Yeah,
again, that whole travelogue kind of a thing. But you're right. But also maybe just be putting a distance, being like, that's over there, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Don't worry. Mark Shannon's out there.
Yeah. Exactly.
As an ambassador for So,
we do have to speak a little bit about poor Richard's bald spot, which is increasingly obvious, and they do a very poor job of covering it up, I feel, in this film. And also, there's an insane scene where he busts in on his wife and Lucia having sex, and then hauls off and rapes Lucia. And then, literally the next scene, he says to his wife, "Forgive me, Helen," and she goes, "No, you did what you had to do." Like, really? Wow, woman solidarity right there. Awesome.
Yeah. Guessing there wasn't a female screenwriter on this film.
I think not.
Stelvio Cipriani did the score for this one.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
keeping our composers straight here.
He always.
We've got mentions when we were talking about Porno, Esotico, Love as well. That's a bit of a mishmash. So you get the Black Emmanuel thing, and you had some other bits and pieces.
Happy as a cloud song.
Happy as a cloud or clown. I'm still not quite sure which one. Right. Which is happier? I reckon a cloud, because clowns are notoriously sad, right? And not funny. But clouds.
Yep.
Who wouldn't enjoy being a cloud? Awesome, floating about. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, yes, no. So yeah, we forgot to mention that.
So Nieves Navarro was in The Big Gun Down. So Return to Ringo. She went from spaghetti westerns to some pretty skeevy shit by the end of her career.
Yes, she was a big fan of George Eastman's career trajectory, and
right, yeah, she followed him.
Yeah, I admire George so much what he's done with it. Yes. Right. So yeah, an odd one. Not, I don't know. Yeah, I don't quite know what to make of this one really. It's,
more or less softcore, except for maybe that scene with
Shannon.
Shannon, yeah. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird when they make that decision. You're like, yeah, this film will be almost entirely softcore, but there'll be one scene that will mean it can't be shown in cinemas. Obviously, they could just trim it out, you know.
Right.
But interesting choice.
So speaking of interesting soundtracks, I mean, yes, if that's not your thing, if you don't like the funky, if you don't like, you know, all that stuff, but you want a kind of vaguely fatty sounding synthesizer sound. Then Blue Erotic Climax is the film for you, because there's a lot of fatty synth noise in this film, isn't there? What kind of soundtrack is this?
I don't know which one even is this. This like I'm now starting to glaze over and forget which.
Okay, so Blue Erotic Climax is the one, again, going by online. I'm checking out the European Girls Adult Film Database here.
Right.
This is the detective one, right?
Oh shit! Yeah. Yes, the Glass Onion or whatever, fucking Knives Out mystery, with one actor in it who is really trying hard. The guy plays the cop, who looks like Jean-Louis Trintignant and like Philippe. Like, he's like a French kind of like, and he's like, wow, he's in a different movie entirely. He wasn't briefed on that this was a Joe D'Amato sex film at all.
Yeah, he didn't know that they were going to add that fatty synthesizer noise thing over the top of it. Oddly enough, it was the original soundtrack. Costa Gavras put on Z, and they took it off.
But this one all feels like a giallo at times, but not like the interesting parts of the giallo, the boring police procedural sort of talking to people. So
apparently this is so apparently a cop turns up and has been told there's been a murder, right? But I don't think we ever see a body. And then he's told a story. So it turns out one of the main characters, Laura Levy, I think, has been put upon by all the other characters in the film, right, at a certain point. And then apparently the big twist at the end is that, she's just an infomaniac and she made the whole story up because she wanted to get the cop there because she wanted one more person to fuck or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew that you could sense that there was a twist, and it was a kind of comedy twist at the end, but I didn't know what the hell it was. I just knew that there was something. Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. And then they drive off the road at the end when she gets her tits out like that, right?
Yeah, and as if you've ever wondered, do androids dream of electric sheep? The next question is, do androids fart in a synthy kind of sound? I think this is what android farting sounds like, right? Like, and we watched a 70-minute. This was shot in the Dominican Republic as well. It's a bit more difficult to tell because it's at this villa. Yeah. So we watched I think a 70-minute Italian version, but there's a 95-minute Spanish version of this apparently.
Does that have more hardcore in it? Because it is a bit lighter actually on sex than all of the other films. I was surprised. I have some of my notes do say like it's been a long time since I've seen somebody naked.
I haven't seen Mark Shannon's cock in ages. Yeah,
exactly.
My shillelagh is starting to go soft.
Indeed.
And it also seems as if sometimes it cuts away like before there's like a come shot of the climax or something.
Right,
that seems
right.
Like,
although our lead actress, she does finger her bumhole quite near the beginning, which I was, surprised by. Good for you.
Pleasantly surprised, or
yeah.
All right, okay.
Again, this was kind of a bit hard to parse because it did seem like it was a sort of a mystery, like a drawing room fucking thing, and I was like, well, I don't know what anyone's saying, and so
that's
it's
the
really
thing. Yeah, it's a film that would benefit from.
I know you're not a big fan of that stuff anyway, Clive. You find that stuff generally tiresome, right? The
I
the
don't like
mystery.
having to guess who the killer is. I grew up with Columbo. I like knowing now straight out the gate who did it.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's you know.
No, it's a film that benefits from knowing what's happening. Although
Yeah.
I would happily watch some of these again. I don't know if I don't know if I could be convinced to watch the 95-minute Spanish version of Blue Erotic Climax. Unless they edit in, Ange Goran, in which case I will. No problem. I'm there.
Right. Okay, I will say there is right near the end. The only scene that I really thoroughly enjoyed was the cat fight with ass biting that takes place quite near the end, where all of the girls just pile on each other and beat each other up until eventually it unsurprisingly turns into a lesbian orgy. At which point, then Mark Shannon and whatever, Hove's interview and whoever the other
You're
guy
imagining.
is.
Oh no, Mark Shannon is in it, isn't he? I forgot he is in it.
No, he's there. No,
Yeah.
I didn't just hallucinate him into
you see him everywhere.
He's lurking behind the bushes.
It's like being John Malkovich, but it's being Mark Shannon, right? You're like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, as I said, this was kind of this wasn't my favorite of them all. But then I don't know if it's fair because I don't know what the hell was going on.
No, but probably second least favorite after the next one we're going to talk about, I think, for me. But
there wasn't enough sex, so maybe the 95-minute version is the way to go.
Hang on, wait. I believe Gav's just about to tell us that he went and spent the weekend with Laura Levy in Las Vegas, and he told him about the backstory of this film. Take it away, Gav. No? Damn.
No.
Oh, okay.
No anecdotes here.
What do you make of this one?
Fairly undistinguished, isn't it?
Yeah, and because it doesn't even have at least the other films, there's no doubt of where they are, that you have the beautiful locations and stuff, but you don't even get that really here, right? Because you're indoors.
No, it's pretty much bound. It's pretty much villa bound, right? So.
Okay, in that case, we shall move with a heavy heart onto our kind of anticlimactic climax, super climax.
Yeah.
It had to be the last film of the show, right? Yeah. And plus as well, we're not in the Dominican Republic anymore. We are somewhere else. I was looking at some of the stuff in the background. Some stuff seemed like it might be Swiss, or it seems some sort of mountain town somewhere in Europe, right? It's like a never heard of Itvenia or somewhere like that, or it seemed like one of those little duchies or something, or I'm not quite sure where this was shot. You could probably tell if you knew your geography a bit better, but I couldn't quite figure out where it was. But it's not the Dominican Republic.
So here's a question. Why does the IMDb say that this film references Belle de Jour?
I don't know. I couldn't figure that out. But then again, we don't have subs, right?
Right. Okay.
So
yes.
And I couldn't find a plot synopsis for that. Well, actually, no, I could find one plot synopsis online for this, but it didn't make any sense to me. It didn't seem to correspond to what was going on.
Okay.
I found a plot synopsis that said something about a racing car driver, but was there a racing car driver in this film?
So that I saw. I mean, it seemed to me it was just Mark Shannon's wife is an info, and that's kind of the story, from what I could see, right? And then eventually it all kind of blows up near the end, and then they kiss and make up. And
this is Laura Levy again, right?
Yes, yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, and that's kind of. And then there was
Lauren.
No, which is not. And then also no Lucia, who was my favorite of this brace.
Lucia Ramirez, no, Lucia Ramirez is not in it. No, the other one. There are some. Actually, this has more performers that were kind of familiar, maybe. Well, certainly Laura Levy would have been, a name in European hardcore, right? No, this is the maybe the most unfair one to kind of review.
Does she seem to be working in a whorehouse as well? Like, there seems to be a madam involved because she has sex with Joe Biden, I think, quite near the beginning of the film, which was
again an early Joe Biden credit he doesn't talk about.
Right. Yeah, well,
sometimes him and Owen Wilson get together and talk about the
good
DeMarco
old
days. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, as I said, I'm just scanning through, but basically,
it's tough to find something.
Yeah, it's kind of,
anti-climax.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect even if I understood everything that was going on, it wouldn't really. It didn't seem to work for me as an exciting sex film either. Although that's kind of difficult to be objective about, right? Because everyone has
their own.
For instance, if it had been exactly the same, and I still didn't totally understand what was happening, but it starred Ange Gorin, I'd have been like, "This is really good." Like so.
I do have one note here that just says a member of the Selector has just showed up to les out with Jennifer Grey.
As in the band, the Selector.
Yes. There was that scene where that one girl showed up who's fully in like ska gear. Like, she absolutely looked like she was that girl out of the Selector.
Was she singing On My Radio?
No, she was not.
What's her name? You're talking Pauline. What is her name? Pauline Black? Is that what you mean from the
Selector? I think it is. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I didn't notice that. There's of course the other bit where Laura Levy was giving Suggs from Madness a blowjob. There was a.
Yes,
now that you mention it, there was a lot of ska.
Yeah. There was Buster Blood Vessel or whatever his name was in there too.
Yeah.
But
cock up fatty. Yeah, no, this again, not even one shillelagh out of 5, I think, for this one. But again, slightly unfair.
Although I did enjoy the fact that this film knows when to end, because it literally ends with a facial cum shot and like slam the end. Like, there's just no. Okay, yeah, that's what. Okay, so we're going home now. Yeah.
Yes, I think we are, Nick.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So that's another 8. That's another 8 in the tank.
Yes. Yeah. This was definitely the Dominican episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
It
is getting easier actually for some reason for me. I don't know why that is, but these films just kind of like they were.
I believe it's called Stockholm Syndrome.
I think that Stockholm Syndrome is a part of it. And also I do think something about like tropical porn is just kind of it's a soothing experience, really. Clive has often talked off air about his appreciation for like the kind of Doris Wishman, like nude, beach camp stuff, as being a kind of, it's just a place where you can hang out and feel free of your worries and stresses, It's like a place where everybody knows your name. It's Clive's Tears. Yeah.
Of course, there's a dark. I don't know if you want to talk about this, but of course, I know. But you were abused by the man from Del Monte when you were a child. So.
Well, he did say yes quite a few times.
Yeah, and he offered you pineapple slices and yeah.
But how do we get on? Oh yes, yeah, okay. So yes. So how do we get to this?
Yes, the man from Del Monte's cock tasted of lilt. Totally tropical taste.
I also used to get it mixed up in my mind with Ricardo Montalban from Fantasy Island. And they kind of inhabit the same general space in my brain, the man from Del Monte.
I get him confused a little bit with Mr. Kipling because it's another kind of older gentleman with his confections.
Exceedingly small cakes.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Mr. Kipling's exceedingly hard shillelagh. Anyway, this is degenerating.
Yes.
Rate.
I mean, I would imagine if you feel like you need a very hot shower after watching this, you can only imagine what it feels like to spend a week or two.
Normal person.
watching Joe D'Amato films every night.
I'm just sad that I think we've run out of Anjagoran.
Right. She's not going to show up in Endgame.
I don't think I'm gonna have to look her up. I'm gonna have to do next year we're doing all the Anjagoran's films, but that won't take so long, unfortunately.
Right.
Anyway, until next time when we'll be doing more of this bollocks. Cheerio.
Over there.